I was questioned by,
We'll get together.
Please come to order. The Finance Committee meeting of the Ascension Parish Council, July 9th, 2019. Please stand for the opening prayer by Reverend Dawson, followed by the pledge.
Let us pray. Father, we thank you for all that you've done, and we thank you for the opportunity to celebrate Independence Day, keeping our hearts and minds the reason and the aspects of the founding of this nation. One nation under God. We pray that as we move forward with that understanding, as we work together, that also, God, we will combine our talents and our abilities in doing the people's business well. We thank you for your continued blessing over Ascension Parish, over its residents. We pray for your guidance and protection over the elected officials, everyone is elected in this parish. We pray, oh God, for your guidance and wisdom as we conduct the people's business tonight. And in all things, we continue to give you grace, thanks, and ask for your continued mercy. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Madam Secretary, it looks like Councilman Turner, only one not here tonight so far.
Dempsey Lambert.
Oh, Dempsey Lambert, too. Councilman Lambert, sorry. There are no chair additions. Public comment. Anybody would like to comment on an item, please fill out a card, a red or a green card, bring it up to the secretary, and you'll have 3 minutes. Item number 5, general business, work orders and building permits. Mr. Mike Hebert.
Good afternoon. Not too much to report. Last month, the residential permits were at 93. I'm sorry, that would be last year at this time. They were 93. This year, this June, we sold 68, which is actually up from the previous month. Yes, previous month. Commercial permits, they're up from 5 to 11. So we're seeing kind of a pull in the right direction for the permit sales to kind of get us back on track to where we were last year.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Did anybody have any questions for Mr. Hebert? To the residential, so I see we're at about 700 for the year.
are you asking or
Yeah, I mean, 355
Yes, sir.
through June,
through
so
June?
about
If we-
700 for the year.
Yes,
and-
sir.
Which
If we're
looks like,
tracking that.
would be
About
150 less than what we had. Do you think that that's a trend, that's
I'd say that's,
gonna continue?
yes, sir. I'd say that's pretty accurate.
Because every month appeared to be down,
Yes, sir.
but still kind of I mean, if you take 700, 20, that's a growth rate of 2,100 people. If each one of these represents somebody that moves into that comes into the parish or was one of the offspring of somebody in the parish.
Exactly. Yes, and like I said, I think the last few years, as I stated last time, are kind of hard to judge what we're filtering out from the flood and any kind of flood damage stuff. So I think that
I think we're
146
getting more back to normal
I
on
think
this.
so. Yes, sir. This will be the year that we'll be able to start tracking,
Uh-huh,
in my opinion. you know,
okay.
And appropriate for next year to, to judge it by.
So let me ask you, just while you're here, what about inspections and your enforcement? Are you satisfied with the way that's going? And
I actually am, yes, sir. The inspections, we're pouring a lot more into our education as far as educating the inspectors and getting them out there to do a more quality job, a better job for the citizens and for us, obviously our protection as well. Yeah, it's really going. I'm really satisfied and really pleased to see what our guys are doing And our ladies in the office,
Great.
so don't want to leave them out.
Questions? Mr. Lambert?
Yeah, Mike,
Yes, sir.
these permits are new building permits, correct?
Yes, sir.
And I guess with the big subdivision on 44, they're popping up every day as
Yes,
they.
sir.
Is it when the house is sold or when the house is built?
When the permit is pulled.
Pulled.
Yes, sir. That's the report that I'm running,
Okay.
is that.
So it's not based on occupancy, it's based on
Based on
building?
building
On the
permit
actual,
of the
on the
new
actual
structure.
permit, as soon as it's issued.
Okay.
So, and again, like last time, that's not counting mobile homes, those type of other occupancy types.
Correct.
That's strictly, new residential construction.
In the unincorporated,
Sir?
in the unincorporated.
Yes, sir.
section
Yes, sir.
of Paris.
Okay, that's all I had.
That excludes,
City-
it excludes just the city
Just
of
the city- just the
Gonzales.
city of
It
Gonzales.
does include Sorrento, is that?
Sorrento and Donaldsonville.
And Dawson.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Cluett?
Yeah, Mike, thank you very much for the information. I just want to go to the commercial. We've had apartment complexes, coming up in the parish. So how do they lie in these numbers, anywhere in these numbers? Say if I build a 50 occupancy,
They're going to be judged based off of the way the permit is sold. So if that permit is sold, it's not going to be, I should say, off of each individual
No,
building.
it'll
It'll be
be a
by the
permit
building
for a
and not
building.
by the, yes, sir. It'll be by the building and not by the,
so in other words, we could have an apartment complex with 50 homes in it.
correct.
That's one permit.
Silver Oaks, for example.
And would
each-
be in the commercial,
Yes, sir.
right? It would
Correct.
not show up in the residential.
Correct, yes, sir.
That adds a pretty good bit to the numbers.
Well, that's why I'm just trying to
Yeah.
get that clarity to
Yes.
everybody, that
Yes.
there's an occupancy number that can grow, that
Correct.
don't necessarily show up, 1-to-1 on the scale right here.
Yes, sir.
So what could we do to bring that more in line with,
I can do it
Actual
by certificate of
moving.
occupancy.
so a
There's a
certificate
couple other
of
things.
occupancy would be,
Yes, sir. There's a couple other things that I could put together and show y'all next month for sure to get
Yeah,
a
okay.
more accurate representation of where that's at.
And the same goes for a mobile home park that had 50 mobile homes in it.
Yes, sir.
They don't show up.
They're not gonna
At all
show.
in these
No, sir.
numbers right now as you presented them.
Correct.
Yeah, I'm not trying to
No.
downrate your things. I'm
Yeah,
just
yeah.
showing that there's some ways, what you chose to be your baseline,
Correct.
and you explained it earlier. I just want to just
Yes, sir.
expand on it to people.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Joseph?
Yeah, Mike. Can we show where these buildings are, like by zip code? In the parish, where we can show the percentage of it, where the growth is being
Correct. Yes.
compared. If we can
Absolutely.
do
I
that, that was in a pie chart or something like that, that percentage would
I can do it by
help each
district
one
for
of these
sure, if that would-
councilmen know where the growth is.
Do you do it by council district?
I
That'll
can.
work good.
And then put it on a map, or?
I can put it on another chart for sure if that would, like Mr.
Yeah, and that way we'll know if Benny Johnson getting all the growth.
Yeah.
And I'm not getting any growth.
Definitely, definitely, I can do that. We actually, Mr. Dawson and I talked about that, Ken and I did
Some people
earlier, and so I got with South Central Planning, and they're getting it to where the reports I run, I can actually populate that data as well.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah, that'll
All
work.
right, thank you, Mike.
Certainly.
Oh, Mr. President?
Sure.
You got one permit for, somebody building an apartment with 50 apartments in it, whatever, but you're still charging them by the circuit and
Oh, yes,
all
oh,
that
yeah.
stuff, so
Yeah.
we're getting our right money there.
Yeah, money-wise, we're getting that, but the
Just the head count.
occupancy, the head count
Should.
would be,
That's a question.
Yeah, but each one of these building permits is an impact fee,
yes, sir.
correct?
Yes, sir.
So if you had an apartment with 50 in it, then that would be 50 impact fees.
Now, again, that's something that I couldn't speak to. We'd have to get with Jerome and
was my
planning
I
and
think you're
zoning for
right, Bill,
sure.
but that's a Jerome question. but
Yeah.
I think you're right.
I'm
should be
I'm
anyway.
pretty sure, but
Look
I
by the
haven't
cars.
seen
I
that
think you go by
chart.
the square footage of the building
I'm pretty
for
sure.
the impact fee.
Yeah,
Would you bring us that answer back next time?
absolutely will.
Councilman Satterley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for the report.
Yes, sir.
Look forward to seeing it by district. A good segue, Mr. Dawson just asked about a question with traffic impact fees. I'd like to ask, considering traffic impact fees, it's not a brand-new thing, but it's a fairly recent thing in this parish. In addition, traffic impact studies is at least a new thing, a little dated now, too. Do you think that either one of those two, I'll just call them recently new ordinances, in any way meaningfully impacted the data that we have in our packets on the residential and our commercial building permits?
No, sir. I don't think so.
So
Not,
you're-
not in this packet.
So
no,
your
sir.
explanation of the yearly comparison of this, because the public maybe can't see that, 2018, 2019, the latter being a little bit lower monthly, except for 1 or 2 months exception, so forth, this calendar year, you saying is largely due to holdovers from the 2016 storm and so forth?
Yes,
and so
sir.
on?
That would be what I would contribute that to, for sure.
All right,
Because
thank
there
you.
was, whenever, just to kind of elaborate, we were handing out, or not handing out, excuse me, but permit fees were waived during that time. So you had a lot of people come in, and I'm weeding through, while it's a small percentage, I'm still weeding through where people say, for instance, they were purchasing, or they were just thinking about destroying their house and purchasing a new one and/or modular home, mobile home, but they would still come in and get a permit and never do anything with it. That never materialized. Then they'd come back and they would get a mobile home permit because that was obviously, financially better for them, or however they chose to go that route. And so I have a permit over here that's showing open that we sold but never closed out. And I'm getting with South Central Planning to be able to populate that data too, to get a lot of that kicked out of the system that was never used or nothing, or I should say that would expire based off the code's requirements for 6 months of no activity. So
Great.
I'll have some better data for that. I did kind of put it together, like I said, with Ken and I talking about it by district. I just hands kind of went through and did it for this last month. I can give y'all those commercial and residential, what I have, if y'all would like that.
Well, certainly for the next meeting.
Okay,
You
I can
bring
do
it
that.
by district, and if
Certainly.
if you have it all together, I'd say email it out to the committee.
Okay,
Okay, Mike,
All right.
thank you.
thank y'all.
All right, item number 6, Lamar Dixon report, Kyle Rogers.
Thank y'all for having me. I put 2 pieces of paper in front of each councilman. We're going to go quickly through, because I know finance report is going to include us as well. So we'll talk about a couple of line items. The big ones that should stand out to you, the first 2 columns, the year-to-date as of 5/31/2018, and then the actual year-to-date of this year. The big thing is we have increased revenue in the first 6 months from 18 to 19 by $280,000. This is primarily due to facility rental. It has been nonstop. We have had 226 event days this year. An event day is a use of a single building, so that's why you would have more event days than you would days in the year. So if you had the trademark going on with one event, 4-H would have another event, Arena would have an event, that would be 3 event days. The next big thing that you would have to see down there is the total expenditures. 18 was 1.4 million. This was largely due to the replacement of the large chillers. That was a few $100,000. This year it's 966,000, and we are net positive in the first 6 months by nearly 30 grand. Now, the first 6 months of our calendar is the heaviest event-wise. It's also the heaviest expenditure-wise, but they're So we're hoping to hold on as tightly as we can, but right now, the focus is that we're continuing on the budget. The second piece of paper in front of you guys is a breakdown. The exhibit hall is also known as 4-H, our highest used facility. This just tells you how many days it has been utilized for events, and then what that came out to be for those rentals. I want to also go over a few things that we've been doing along with just the rental of the facility with the events. We're at 50% LED across the property right now. We're working as best we can, as physically responsible as we can to get to 100%. Our RV lot is at 60% occupancy, and right now between turnarounds, that's very strong for us. We have currently remodeled a portion of the Trademark building. The interior has been repainted. Some walls have been repaired. So we're maintaining that facility. Due to the increase in our family events, we've had a tremendous increase in family events. That's probably the number one thing. We have developed a nursing mother's room in the exhibit hall that has allowed some of our younger families to feel comfortable coming to events with younger children. We are currently remodeling all restrooms throughout the facility. We are working closely with DPW to increase our fleet of equipment with possibly another skid steer, a street sweeper. We have exploded on social media to over 15,000 followers.
That's more than Doc.
Notable, we brought back Swamp Pop this year, and Swamp Pop was an event that was tremendous for our community. It was a staple for a long time. Cystic fibrosis is still the beneficiary of that event, and that's something that came back and has been very well received. And Guarantee Media is the one that did that for us, and that's been a great event. The top three events that I want to talk about that are coming up for the remainder of the year is Taste of Tiger Tailgating on August 17th. This is the kickoff to LSU football. LSU and Guarantee Media has decided to bring that back to Lamar-Dixon. That was over 8,000 patrons last year. It's a tremendous event. It brings LSU football to Ascension Parish and kind of serves as their kickoff to the season. The National Street Rod Association is bringing the Cajun National Street Rod Nationals on October 4th through the 6th. This is a all-incumbent event, takes up every inch of the property. It is just an amazing event for us. And then the highlight that I think we've done this year is on December 13th through the 15th, we will have the Helen Brett Gem and Jewelry Show, and commonly known as Market.
Oh, wow.
And that is a huge event, and it is something that brings thousands of dollars of tax revenue, thousands of dollars of economic impact to our area. It is something that's in New Orleans currently, and just ask anybody that's ever been to it. It's a tremendous shopping experience. So that's kind of the report right now. If you guys have any questions on any of that, let me know.
Mr. Kluot.
Yeah. Kyle, I tell you what, I want to thank you for the job that you guys, the administration, your staff, and everybody that's worked hard out at Lamar-Dixon. Places came a long ways. You know, we haven't lost focus of Mary Lee's vision for the place. I appreciate her input continually in, and what we're doing for the 4-H. Every time I want to talk to you, I want to improve what we're doing for the 4-H and the FFA, for the local guys. And,
Absolutely.
you know, you always get to, somebody's, hey, do they charge the kids to go practice, go hit a baseball at Santamar Park? No, they don't.
Right.
Well, do they charge for, a team roper or a team pinner to go over there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So we got to try to continually working on keeping the hometown and keeping the rural atmosphere of the true roots of that facility. But as we improve the facility grounds and the things around it, bringing in these national events, and you said it, but I'm gonna go ahead and repeat it, this Helen Brett show is big, and you beat out a lot of big people for this show.
We
Last
did.
year was close, sat down, we had, and this year you got it.
We
you know?
did. We were high-fiving in the office after that one.
Yeah, and so, I know people don't know about the amount of local vendors that will have booths in that facility.
Right.
It'll save me, my wife, a trip to New Orleans. I can tell you that.
She'll make
Bill
up for it
wants
at
to know how
checkout.
much you can pay you for his wife not to go there.
I know. Sometimes you can smell the plastic burning off the
Yeah.
credit cards in there.
But anyway, the National Street Rod Association, look, this not national just by their charter. This is a national, they go from the East Coast to the West Coast.
Right.
And to be blessed and be picked as a place for these guys to stop, you're talking national media. They have an entourage of film people that's no less than about 35 to 40 people that follow that route with them and document and do everything. And, this is big timing, And, it's like getting the Houston Rodeo.
Right.
That's what it is in the car world. So, we appreciate it.
Thank
And,
you.
I'll continue to keep the trailer park, the parking spots, everything upgraded. I know you had a lot of electrical upgrades that went in and things and you got a lot more in the future, the stuff that's gotta be to do that.
Right.
But these people, every event we got over there, people are rolling in with these big coaches.
And they're getting bigger and bigger.
And I think Benny's got a huge travel trailer, but I don't know how big they get, They had some bigger than my first house, I can tell you that. And,
And more
so,
expensive, too.
yeah,
yeah.
so let's just keep it moving. And, my thing, you know what I preach, keep up the maintenance of the place, keep it looking good.
Yes, sir.
Pick up the paper, keep the signs clear, paint a lot of green.
That's it.
Thank you.
Just congratulations, Kyle. Great work. Appreciate you.
Thank you.
Mr. Joseph. start
Well,
down
Kyle, first of all, I want to thank you for giving us something in black and white, okay?
And green.
Nice.
A lot of colors.
Rainbow.
But that's one thing I want. I do have I have two questions. One is, I see the events and everything. Can we elaborate more on parking? I mean, I think the parking revenues. I know we have events, and do we really charge for parking, or why, or?
We negotiate in parking on certain events where the promoters really, one of the greatest things about Lamar, one of the big reasons why, let's talk about Helen Brett, for instance. You're not paying $25 to park in New Orleans. And so that was a big plus for that promoter to come in. And so a lot of times what we'll do is we'll negotiate in parking buyouts. And so we'll say, hey, look, your event's going to take up the whole complex. You're going to be the only one here. We see this as an opportunity for us to make money on parking, and that promoter will go, hold on. What if we give you X amount per ticket not to charge for parking? So we'll get the revenue without having to, staff, and if we feel like it's worth it to us, we'll make those deals.
Okay. Okay. The enterprise fund, and I look at your beginning fund balance and your projected ended fund balance, and I see that there's that fund balance is decreasing. You see this going to be a problem in the future, or you're going to fund balance may balance out in the future?
The fund balance was created during the BP operation at Lamar Dixon back in 2010. And that was a pot of money that was built up.
Windfall.
Was built up and used to offset any deficits at Lamar Dixon and to keep it off the taxpayers' dime. Currently, being net positive right now at 29,000, that's huge for us. But we have to, our struggle is we have to make sure that we are at a minimum break even as much as we can get, as close as we can get every year to stretch that windfall out, to stretch that pot out as long as we can. And then get as creative as possible to grow the revenue in order to hopefully one day not need to lean on it as much.
Okay. All right, that's all I have.
Councilman Satterly.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Cal. Also, I want to repeat what everyone said. I appreciate having this. It certainly would be helpful to me on social media, and that's a good segue until, actually, OJ took some of the fire there on parking. One of the most common complaints I get, and I cannot respond, probably know that. Sometimes I just put your name on it and chime on in, is that we're not maximizing our parking revenues on social media. And I don't know a lot about this, but I do know that that would constitute of the 11 facility uses you have here, parking, which for the public's benefit, put this in the record right now, was $21,208.25, and that's for just the first 6 months of this year. You can get a lot of money there with very little overhead because the space is there and the event's there and so forth. So have we examined maybe increasing the parking fees a little bit beyond just these incentive things you've talked about as well? Are you confident we're maximizing our parking revenues at these events?
I feel that we are maximizing the parking revenues and, you know.
I mean, I wouldn't want to turn people off and have them not.
Well, that's what I was about to say. Your district is very unique to want to pay for parking at Lamar Dixon. They are, we typically, whenever we have events that pay for parking, we get backlash in the other direction.
Well, a lot of them feel, and you've seen it, you've been to my site, that they feel like we should do it for free. I don't agree with that, but, you know, nothing's free in the world anymore, and
Right.
you know, but anyway, your dime, go ahead.
Yeah, no, we, like I said, we maximize that. The toughest thing with parking was when, and one thing we're doing, obviously we have more events, 226 event days, is when you have multiple events going on at the same time. Bringing those people in, it's a lot easier to charge somebody $3 to $5 to park if they're going to the gun and knife show. But there's one entrance. So if that same person that's pulling in to go watch their 4-H or their local 4-H or show cattle, if they don't really want to pay $5, that local citizen to go watch their kid watch their kid show. So there's that kind of give and take there. I feel like parking is something that, like I said, we utilize on bigger events as a bargaining chip. It's something that's allowed us to take events from larger facilities. It's kind of even the playing field a little bit for us versus going to a major city facility. And we've proven we're at 21 events, and I'm just going to say it, we're at 21 events that we've taken from Baton Rouge in the last 3 years. And a lot of that is due to the fact that no one wants to go down to a not lit parking garage and pay $5 and fight traffic. And it's something that we've used to book the events. And would we lose them if we charge parking? Maybe, maybe not. But like I said, right now, just using it as a bargaining chip with the promoter is paid dividends for us.
Okay, thank you very much. And my second question involves something you just said too, as well as the big ticket items. To me, when I look at your data, and I'm not trying to play Bill's role here in crunching numbers, but you probably can't see this again. The days that you call them event days used as of July 9th versus the column on the second part of our handout, payment collected as of July 9th. The big ticket items appear to me to be, if you just divide the latter by the former, the exhibition hall, per day of event brings in around $4,000 a day. The banquet halls, believe it or not, bring in a similar amount. Everything else is $1,000 to $2,000, albeit admittedly the trademark, which you mentioned, it's a big money maker too because it grossed $82,886. But when you divide it by 38, you can back down to the 2,000. So it seems to me the real encouragement going forward and the real money is to be made. Is this correct? Am I reading the data right? Exhibition hall events and banquets.
It certainly is. What you run into with that is there's only so many weekends in a year. You got 52 of them. So, I mean, 52 weekends out of the year, and we're halfway through, and we got 46 days.
That's another good question asked then. So are we maxed out on our weekends and pretty much?
We are. I'm not going to say maxed out. Obviously, there's weekends out there. Christmas weekend, people stay away from. outside of that 4th of July weekend, we had a few great events. I don't think there is a weekend on the calendar that we do not have events going on.
Right, because we can't, obviously, we can't grow weekends. They are what they are.
Right.
But if you get the right events in there on weekends, and you can maximize that. And do you see changes on the horizon in that arena, or are we starting to book standbys every year for the same event?
No, I mean, the 3 that we just added, Helen Brett, the National Car Show, I mean, those are huge events that we've added this year. I mean, we're constantly going after bigger and better events. I wouldn't say that we were, at the same time, trying not to cull out smaller events, because they're still very important to us. Those are our local events. That's our local promoters, and we definitely want to give them an opportunity to make money and utilize Lamar Dixon for their show. This weekend, Dancing for the Cause is going to be there Thursday night. Gun and Knife Show. She's been there for 20 years. She's going to be there this weekend. We don't want to push out those local promoters because we're chasing a higher dollar. If we can get Lamar Dixon to pay for itself without having to do that, that's going to be option one.
Well, that's something bears repeating. For a long time, I've served in this council, and it was constantly red ink, red ink, red ink, and we've had the debacles with balloon festivals and not have enough money to satisfy debts after events. But at least now, if the public followed the numbers you started with, when you mentioned that color green, it's the other color from Christmas, right? We're not in the red anymore, so that's good. And I'm not saying this facility has to make a whole lot more money. Just don't bring us red ink.
Right. Well, we would be the only one in the nation that doesn't operate in the red. But we are trying. Now, the X factor we have is obviously the RV lot. That helps us tremendously. A lot of places don't have that. Quite honestly, if event centers made money, they'd be in the private sector. They're 99% owned by municipalities for a reason. They're for economic engine to the community, their quality of life. If you looked at the tax dollars that Lamar Dixon brought in, it would far exceed any deficit that you would see on the paper. I think the only one I can think of that's privately owned is probably Jerry World in Dallas, and for whatever reasons, he probably can write off.
Look, don't get me wrong, I have an appreciation for economic engine and the money that's hidden involved in that. The problem is the public, again, on my side, always talks about, well, that's mostly money going to the city of Gonzales when they shop at Danger and they stay at the hotels and motels in the area that are inside those city limits and an incorporated area. So,
but the sales tax generated at Lamar Dixon goes to the parish.
It's too bad we couldn't just move Lamar Dixon's. Never mind, I'm going to stop there. Mr. Chairman, thank you all for listening.
Councilman Lawler.
If you would, I'm not going to reiterate what everybody said. It's all wonderful. This is wonderful to be in the black. What I was going to ask you to do is, I know President Matas had mentioned this earlier, a couple of meetings back, but the traction football out there. If you would, just tell us a little bit about that, because I know sign-up's going on, and it's something new to Lamar Dixon.
It's something new. This is an event that we booked. It's going to be the weekends in September through the middle of November. It's FNA, which is Football in America, and it's owned and sponsored by Drew Brees, and they wanted to kind of expand this guy. He's put this league all over the nation, basically with everything that's going on with tackle football and young kids today with the concussions, with the injuries. He felt like flag football option at an earlier age and teaching them how to play the game first before how to get hit was smarter and more healthier for the kids. Drew teamed up with Mac Chiwilli and Traction Sports out of Baton Rouge, and Mac came down, met with us, and asked to rent the multi-sport facility, the soccer fields. And we set up a league time for him to rent those facilities from us, and they're bringing it in, and it's going to be great. There's going to be sign-ups going on right now. They have a clinic that's going to happen, and everybody's really excited about having that option. I don't believe there was a strong flag football presence in our community prior to this.
Thank you.
No problem.
Kyle, I have a couple of questions kind of on the numbers here. So, if I look at, and I appreciate the fact that your revenue went up from 700,000 to almost $1 million this year over last year. But still, when I take this 996,000 and I project that out at that same rate for the year, it comes up about $450,000 short of the 2.8. Can you help me with that?
Yeah, there's going to be times where, and there's going to be areas that is going to come short. Like I said, the facility rental is always heavier in the first half of the year. The RV rental is actually heavier in the second half of the year. There's sponsorships that we are pursuing that have not came in yet. Another thing, the big hitter item that's on here is the Visit Enterprise Fund. That's a huge item.
Where is that? I don't see that on here.
The Visit Enterprise Fund is the $750,000 from the tourism, state tourism. That is a hotel motel rebate.
You don't have, yeah. I was gonna ask that next question, where is that?
We
That's
can't
not-
control when that comes in. We know it comes in every year.
Where did you budget that?
That would be, I'll have to find it. It's gonna be in the other. So that 832 that you see in the other, that's part of that.
Well, you're right. I mean, in the other, I was gonna ask that, that's about $500,000. That's about $300,000 is in that.
Yeah.
So, you're saying that it's just the rate of it is, or the months that it comes in, and that's why this is short. That you feel like that at the end of the year, it'll make up.
Do we
By the
prorate
end of
that
the
out
year.
over the month?
All right, ask that again, please.
The hotel motel tax,
Visit Enterprise Fund.
and that's in this, other category here. So
Correct.
that's 750 out of the 832 in the other. So right now, if you looked at that, it's 209 through the end of May. If I project that again at the same rate, then that comes up 300 plus thousand short for the year.
Correct. We usually get that money in August, so we do not allocate it
It's
monthly
not
to the budget.
accounted for.
So it just gets, it'll get credited sometimes
Once
in
it
August, the
comes in.
whole, as a lump sum amount.
It's typically.
Nothing in this 209? There's none of it in this 209?
That 209 is mainly gonna be concessions. That's a lot of it.
This is not my report, but hang on. So glad you asked a question. Let's see.
You're not always.
Not ever.
So the majority of it is, okay, so the rebate so far, we've gotten in 171,000. Okay? The other amount is concessions, interest earnings, and a little bit of small amount of rental fees. And there's probably some other small items in there. One item that's in the revenue budget, what you were talking about comparing the almost $1 million to the 2.8, there is a grant in there for almost $300,000, and there's the corresponding expense, which is even higher. Though that item may not happen, so we would reduce expense by more than the 300 because you only get 75% of it. So his revenue right now is a little bit closer if you take out the grant.
Okay, that's probably it. It's the grant.
Yeah.
290, this is a 292,000.
Yes, and I'm not sure if it's even going to happen. Martha would probably have a little more update on that, but I think that was for generators that were going to be used. One or two large, maybe it's one large generator at Lamar Dixon was going to be purchased. But I'm not sure.
That
what they
answers
are.
all the questions.
Good.
Go on. Thank you. Any other questions? Mr. Kluwat?
Yeah, I just want to, recap. Y'all can't tell that I'm a fan of Lamar Dixon, but, so, worked hard from day one, and I will continue to work hard even when I'm not elected as a fan of Lamar Dixon. I don't think anybody that's traveled the country and did the horse show, did the livestock show, did the car show, did whatever, that this is a prime facility. I just want to expand on the fact that every now and then, in almost every conversation, and sometimes it was even me, that when it comes up, there's, 5,000 people come in and they go to Gonzales and spend their money.
Mhm.
Well, I don't have Tanger Mall in Santa, okay?
All right.
It just, I don't have a bunch of hotels. So yes, they're gonna spend. But Gonzales is a part of Essentia Parish. Matter of fact, Gonzales is represented by about 3 council members up on this council right now. And so we will continue to hold our ground and hold Lamar Dixon as Ascension, for the time being. But I want to say that every event I've ever been to over there, I always try to bring our local culture somehow. All the promoters have been real receptive to bringing and continuing our local culture and having some part of any event to where it was appealing to the local folks here. You
The
know,
jewelry show.
the jewelry showed. I got some local folks in Santa Monica that just waited with bated breath and a credit card for that thing to get here. But I'm just saying, so, and we talked about the parking a lot. Yeah, it's a huge area. If you start counting the cars and start hollering $5, you come up with a big dollar figure. There is a decent amount of overhead that goes into enforcing paid parking. There's a lot of confusion, there's a lot of overhead, there's a lot of organization, there's a lot of things that goes into that. And I think that if you can make your 50 cents on the possible dollar to work a deal with the promoters, that the people are gonna come there more readily, they're gonna spend more money, and you can have more people come in, and that's generally why they do it. And by the way, in New Orleans, by the convention center, they got the $25 lots, but they also have the up to $40.
Right.
And
And,
you can't find a parking spot.
and then you gotta make sure the lot that you're stopping at, that the person that you're giving your money to actually has that lot.
I've done that too.
I've done it too, and I thank God my car wasn't towed away. But anyway, so there's a lot of work in Lamar Dixon, and just the foundation of the facility for people, and something for us to have in the parish as a drawing card to come here and do anything. We have changed the culture of Lamar Dixon from the first talks of Lamar Dixon back over 10, 12 years ago, to where industry on the river has become a partner of Lamar Dixon. We've done some work to improve the roads, ins and exits with the Eden Barn. We hope to persuade and get the Ashland connector as quick as possible. I'll continue to work to get that. We get that done. It's just, this place as an emergency shelter facility is world-renowned. I mean, I'm talking about North America. This facility happened to be there, and we talked to enough people to where we made them decide that it was south of the interstate, but the interstate made a turn toward the north, so we qualified, and it's there. The power companies love it. The military loves it. The people that got to come in and dig in when we got storms, they love it there. And it's just a great place. Anyway, thank you.
Councilwoman Casso.
I just wanted to add, I was in business in North Ascension Parish. I could tell on the weekends that Lamar Dixon had activities that my business was better. So while it does have a tremendous impact on the city of Gonzales, that filters out all across the parish. And I do think any restaurateur who's not, or business in the parish who's not taking advantage of the fact that Lamar Dixon is there and advertising their business there is making a mistake. Because those folks are looking for a place, and they don't all want to go within a mile of where they
Right.
are. They're willing to ride. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm sorry, Councilman Cagliari.
You mentioned that we've basically taken 21 events from Baton Rouge
Yes, sir.
in the past few years or whatever it was. What are you looking at toward New Orleans? I know they've got a lot,
Helen Brett was the first one.
but other than that, but I'm saying, I know a lot of people that, different industry functions that happen in
Yeah,
New
outdoor
Orleans at the
show.
convention center,
Yeah.
and they hate it.
Right.
The attendants, the people that go there, because they can't find parking when they do, it's expensive. They like the culture, restaurants and what have you, but
Feel free
Right.
to go there to a dance recital.
I just recommend you look into that.
Absolutely.
Some other New Orleans
Absolutely. And
functions.
we're focused on convention centers, conventions and we've reached out. Some of the biggest challenges that we faced when reaching out to conventions is that we don't have an airport, and our public transportation is poor. We do have, I think President Matassa signed Uber in a couple of years ago, maybe, but it just hasn't taken off. And a lot of people that come in for conventions, they fly in, they stay in hotels, and they use public transportation. And so we were swinging and missing on 2 of those, but we're trying to figure out ways to get creative to figure that out as well.
Thank you.
Mr. Cluett.
Real quick, I want to thank y'all for working with Sorrento. And we're gonna have
Boucherie
the
Festival.
Balloon Festival and the Boucherie all at the same time, all on the same grounds.
Absolutely, one big happy family. We just wanted those guys to have an opportunity for that event to get the respect and take off the way it should take off and the way it has taken off in the past. And, you know, what they suffered after 16 and struggling to try to get back on their feet. And now, I mean, that's an amazing festival. That's one of my favorite festivals of the year. Boucherie is just fun. So,
It's just-
y'all come out and check it out.
They're great people in Sorrento. Bill represents them. Look, the people of Sorrento, they want good. Those people put a lot of hard work into that festival for a long time. They've reached out. The other associations have helped them. And, you know, so it's just gonna be good.
They know how to have a good time.
Yeah. Okay, thank you, Kyle.
Thank you all so
Appreciate it.
much.
Item number 7, renewal of cooperative endeavor agreement between the Board of Supervisors of Louisiana State University and A&M College, represented by the LSU Agricultural Center and the Ascension Parish Government for 4-H youth development programs in an amount not to exceed $50,000. Ms. Shippers.
Thank you. On June 6, 2019, the Ascension Parish Purchasing Department received a request for the renewal of the cooperative agreement between the Board of Supervisors of Louisiana State University, represented by the LSU Ag Center, and the Ascension Parish Government. It is the recommendation of Ascension Parish Government Administration to seek your approval and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this agreement.
Motion.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Cluett, second by Councilman Satterley. Any questions? I do have a question, Joan. I don't have the,
Same amount.
it's the same amount as last year?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, that wasn't, that was,
That was my question.
but in the, I think maybe the first paragraph of the agreement, it says something about responsibilities, and then it mentions an employee or a position.
The contract
What
was,
is, I don't see what that reference is to.
that contract was submitted by our legal department, so I'll allow O'Neill to respond.
We fund a position.
Do you see it?
We fund a position for those people here at Lamar Dixon.
Yes. That's
Well,
what
so
it
they
is.
don't say anything about the position except for that one paragraph that says if you don't have that position, then,
We don't 50,000.
I know, but there's nothing that defines what that
County agent.
position is.
County agent.
It's the county agent.
But shouldn't that say something in the contract as to what that is? It just says a penalty for not adhering to it.
This is LSU's contract that they submit to us every year.
I know, but don't we have to sign it?
Yeah, we do.
Well, I mean, if it had a glaring error in there, I would think we would want to correct it. It
Yeah,
has a mention here about what a penalty is for a position that's undefined.
We can check on that, but like I said, in dealing with DHH, when they sent a contract, it was either take it or leave it. Now, this sounds kind of,
Well, I've done
Open, I
contracts
don't
with
know.
LSU, and they, you know,
maybe Doc could
they
tell us
take
something
changes.
better.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Cluett.
if I would like to re-clarify my motion, it's based on the contract and what's been for the past number of years that I can remember, it's for the county agent. And so I would like to specify that within my motion.
That's good.
Okay,
I'll second
so I have a second by Councilman Lawler. Any further questions, any further comments, any objections? Motion passed, thank you. All right, item number 8, and we have a speaker, Mr. Jeff Pettit, with a red card versus the yellow card. I watched that soccer.
Yeah.
Go USA.
When you learn what offsides is,
No, I
then
don't
you
know
pass.
that. I don't know that. Okay. Jeff, go ahead,
Good
sorry.
evening. Item number 8, amendment number 2 to legal services contract with Rodell Parsons to amend the scope of services to include ACUD 1, ACUD 2, parish utilities of Ascension, West Ascension drainage, personnel matters, and general legal services for an additional amount of $260,000 for a total contract not to exceed amount of $460,000. Arguably, the $460,000 is going to be spread around to 5 specific areas. I'd want to know how much the taxpayers have paid to Rodell Parsons in each with invoices to prove it. How much has been spent to date on legal services for ACUD 1, ACUD 2, PUA, West Ascension drainage, and personnel matters? How much do we anticipate spending on legal services in the future for each? Specific to personnel matters, how much has Rodell Parsons been paid to date to file the lawsuit against Berkeley Insurance and Harry Robert Insurance? Why has Ascension Parish government been added as a party plaintiff to the suit? What damage has the parish suffered? Did Ascension Parish government expend any monies toward the legal defense of Kenny Matassa against the felony bribery charges? What does Ascension Parish government hope to gain by a successful prosecution of the case against Berkeley Insurance and Harry Robert Insurance Agency? And I've got to ask another question. Is this working?
Yeah. We'll have to, John, I think, John, are you aware?
It's a,
Okay.
What does that have to do with this?
It has a lot to do with it. Was a fundraiser held to defray Mr. Matassa's legal fees on April 24th?
I don't think that's a part of this item, Jeff. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
that's fine. I'll withdraw that.
Okay,
But those are my questions for every taxpayer in the parish.
thank you. Okay, so item number 8, I think I've read this, Mr. Dawson.
Daniel's going to talk about the first aspect of this.
So,
Mr. Daniel.
thank you, Mr. Chairman, council members. I put the $200,000 in. That was going to be for legal fees and financial analysis of the Ascension Sewer Project.
Right.
I have kind of decided to do it in a different way, so I would like to remove $175,000 from that, and I'm going to come back with a just a $50,000 contract with a financial advisor. So I'd like to move.
So you want to take the 260 out and
I want to move 175 of the 260
So
out.
you want 85,000
I want
left?
to leave 25,000 in for work for ACUD 1, ACUD 2, and PUA.
So you're going to have 85,000 rather than 260?
Yes.
Well, I only
total,
wanted
yes.
200, so
Right.
I'm going to have 25, and then there's some other things in there. Mr. Dawson will
Yes.
speak to those.
So right now, we're at 85 with you. Yeah, that's what,
25.
25.
He wants 25 for
I
ACUD,
put-
but there'll be 85 total.
There'll be
remaining.
85 total left
remaining, yes.
in the amendment when you take my 175 out.
Okay.
We need to clear it up.
Well, we still got Mr. Dawson that's
yes.
going to tell us about the remainder. Is that correct?
Yes. As we still have work to be done with personnel matters that we're moving forward with and general legal services. Those some of the things that you guys have been briefed with in executive session. We're still moving with some issues with some former employees that still, we're moving through those particular steps, and there's still some legal matters that have to be handled. So we have to get additional funding to continue to do those particular items, and it's still moving forward. As you know, in your briefing in executive session, these things are just carried out with some of the other actions that were taken by some former employees.
So I'm still I'm still with the, so we're gonna replace the 260 with the 85 and 25. Y'all gonna divide that up? You
Yes,
divide
yes.
that up, you know?
Accordingly, yes.
Yes. Okay, so, Mr. Joseph,
And West Ascension drainage.
And West Ascension Drain is also in there to do some work, legal work that was requested.
that's included in the 85?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I'd
And
like
we-
to entertain the motion, I just want it clear what I'm gonna do, because I
Well, I think it's
understand the
just-
total concept.
So I think they're looking for a motion, and the motion just needs to say instead of 260, it's 85.
85.
85.
85.
Okay,
Yes,
not
sir.
the 25 added,
No,
No.
just 85 total.
okay?
So you're making that motion,
I'll make-
Councilman
I'll make
Kluart?
that motion.
So this is
Second.
to approve this with the change from 260,000 to
That
85,000.
is correct.
Let me get a second, Benny, hold on
I'll
just a
second it.
You second? Okay,
second.
all
I've
right,
got a
Councilman
question as well.
Johnson.
So we're clarifying the legal service for the 260, but what about the to not exceed amount? Are we gonna put a cap?
Yeah,
on it?
well,
We're
you're
just gonna
right,
strictly-
when that needs to be reduced by 175 also.
Yes, sir. Let's
Right.
reduce that by 175.
Somebody help me, I can't do that in my head anymore. What is it?
285.
285?
With Mr. Kluwart's permission, like to add that to the motion that the cap is
Are you okay with that,
I'll
Mr.
amend my
Kluart?
motion, sir.
All right. Okay, so now the motion, which is as written, the amendment as written, accept that, replace 260 with 85, and replace 460 with 285. And we have a motion and a second. Do we have any questions? Do we have any comments, Mr. Satterley?
Yes, not atypical for me. What was it? Not President, Mr. Humphrey once said that this is as clear as punch. So that I can understand it before asking the questions, this is not what was in the packet, but now the motion reflects that Mr. Daniel, I guess, originally wanted 200K, and it was my knowledge back then when that was asked for, that was for Ascension Sewer, which obviously I'm a big proponent of, as well as to take care of some personal issues, particularly I was told at the time we were in the lawsuit with Ms. Wesley. Now we're saying Mr. Daniel tonight, by his testimony, wants to remove 175K from that, leaving the sum of 25K, and if I understood it correctly, that is now to be used for items as in our packet and as Mr. Pettit read aloud, A through C, which is ACUD number 1 is A, ACUD number 2 is B, and Parish Utilities of Ascension, or PUA, is C. And then I heard OJ over here to my right add West Ascension drainage to that, so that we now have $260,000 minus $175,000. Mr. Daniel wants removed, leaving us at the $85,000, which is Mr. Kluwart's motion, and then the amendment of Mr. Johnson to be sure we not only change the 260 to 85K, but we also change in our package to 460,000 not to exceed amount to 285K. It's good, I'm getting head nods so far.
There you go.
There's still one issue, though, before I vote to do this. Mr. Dawson, that's Ken Dawson, not Bill, then just testified that some of that money is still needed for personnel matters, and that's what's in our packet. It says personnel matters and general legal services. And I got to assume that's matters that we cannot handle in-house with Mr. Parrington, but that we need the expertise of Rodell Parsons, which is a party to this whole thing. So he further stated that it was some legal matters, which is nondescript again, yet to be handled. I would like for the record to know, so that I know what I'm voting on, what specifically are those legal matters yet to be handled? Is it, are we still involved, for example, with Ms. Toledo Wesley? Does it involve that? And in addition, the lawsuit that Mr. Pettit referenced, that the parish is now a party plaintiff in, which is the recovery from Berkeley Insurance and Mr. Robert, the legal fees of Mr. Matassa for his brush with the law. What exactly is in that figure? Can someone answer that for me?
Mr. Dawson.
O'Neill, is it okay to get into details about, okay.
No,
So
it's not.
these are pending litigation, so I
I'm
can't.
not asking for detail, I'm just asking, is some of that money gonna be spent with Rodale Parsons to support, and I assume we've already spent some money, I don't know that either, the lawsuit that was filed, I don't know, the media said it was filed recently, I think it was on the, no, it's not important to it, but it has been filed. And it does list the Parish of Ascension as a plaintiff along with Mr. Matasser, and it lists defendants, Mr. Robert's Insurance Company, so that's public record, we certainly can talk about that, as well as Berkeley Insurance. So I reiterate, without going into detail and getting you in any trouble, Ken, will you verify tonight for the record that monies will be, if we approve this motion by vote in a minute, which are taxpayer monies, that's not a good word, prosecute, to further advance this lawsuit?
Want me again?
Well, it's either you or Mr. Parrington, I would assume. One of you guys are,
There are.
if it's a legal question, we'll have Mr.
Yeah, I
Parrington.
mean,
If
that
it's,
was approval from the council to move forward with several things that are dealing with personnel issues, okay? It was explained in executive session what those issues are. I'm not gonna get into naming names, because I don't think that's proper to do so, but there are personnel issues that are still going on that we are dealing with Rodale Parsons. That's also, some issues with the insurance that we're dealing with Rodale Parsons. So that again was talked about in executive session and then okayed for us to move forward in that particular direction. These things have taken longer than we expected because there were other actions that were taken by some of the employees that they are still working on. So to answer the question, yeah, there's still the same things that we initially said we're going to do, dealing with personnel issues and dealing with the insurance issues that we had with the parish, as stated previously.
I believe I still have the floor. So I'm going to take that as a yes, but even if it's not a yes, I'm going to use your terminology of personal, as it's in our packet, personnel matters and general legal services. How much of the $85,000 will be spent on that item?
What we did was add 50.
How much has been spent?
Well, I have to go
And
back
how
and
much
look at
will
that.
be-
I'm not sure. I can tell you that for this particular agenda item, there was 50,000 that was added for legal items dealing with personnel and moving forward with the any potential litigation dealing with the insurance. That was $10,000 that was added for the West Ascension drainage portion of this. Okay, and as we said, Mr. Daniel had $25,000 that was added to continue some things that he need to do with utilities.
So the number's 50,000, 10,000 for West Ascension, 25 for Mr. Daniel, which is PUA, ACUD 1, and ACUD 2. The only thing left in the 5 items is personnel matters and GIS, general legal services. So it's $50,000. Is that the answer?
50,000. Well, yeah, for the personnel matters and general legal service, that was there's $50,000. 10,000 for the
To go toward legal services that you refuse to define for me.
I'm refusing to define them, Councilman. I'm saying that they were defined in executive session, and we this council voted on it just to move forward with it. So I think it was explained. I'm not refusing to define it. It's personnel matters. I don't want to call a name out.
You kind of like making me want to say something so everybody can just jump on me that, hey, you're disclosing something in executive session. I'm just going to say this. I was in that session, and I was not in any way clear, and I called our chairwoman about it, so forth. She indicated she wasn't at the time either. Now we have this in front of us, and I'm like, okay, it's a simple question. Are we spending taxpayer money to push forward a lawsuit in behalf of Mr. Kenny Matasser to recover his legal fees by suing both Harry Robert Insurance and what's the other one, Berkeley Insurance?
That's not my understanding of the purpose of moving forward with the lawsuit at all. That's not my understanding of the purpose. That's not my understanding of the purpose of the lawsuit. Was to move forward for the president. It was explained by
Well, a lawsuit, Mr. Dawson, a lawsuit has been filed. Yes or no?
I'm sure it has. Yes, it has been filed. I'm
Okay.
sure Rodale Parsons filed a lawsuit.
And they're not going to do that for free. I mean, they're just Gonna file a lawsuit? They have to be paid,
I'm not
right?
understanding the question.
Well, I mean,
What are you asking me?
attorneys like chicken doctors or anything, they don't work for free. If you want me to consult with you, it's $200 an hour.
No, no, thank you.
No, thank you.
What I said
Well, if you're
was,
losing 10,000 chickens an hour, you might want to pay that $200. but-
the decision was made to move forward with a lawsuit that was based on a contract that the parish had, okay? It was not focused on one, it was not focused on the president. That's not my understanding. Now, if we need to have Rodale Parson to explain the details of the contract, I could get him here, but that's not my understanding.
I'm done, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay, Councilman Kluat.
Yeah, Ken, I think, Mr. Ken Dawson, I think that you explained it, that we're down to what we talked about on personnel issues.
Yes.
In executive session. And the rest of it is named with different utilities districts. And I'd like to, Mr. Daniels, you reinforce that we need these numbers right here? We've adjusted the numbers down from the original, what came in the package. So everybody, y'all good with these numbers right here that you need?
We have some outstanding invoices from Rodale Parsons, and we have some probably for June. And then I've got some money set aside to do some legal work on Ascension Sewer.
Good deal. Thank you, sir.
Okay, any further questions, comments? So we have a motion, we have a second, any objections?
I object.
Have an objection. Roll call, please.
Councilman Joseph,
Yes.
Councilman Satterly,
No.
Councilwoman Casso,
Yes.
Councilman Todd Lambert,
Yes.
Councilman Kluat,
Yes?
Councilman Lawler,
Yes.
Councilman Cagnolati,
Yes.
Councilman Johnson,
Yes.
Chairman Dawson.
Yes. Okay, motion carries. Item number 9, monthly contract reports. Sandra, she's not here. Who's going to do that?
I'll try. The report that you have before you are the contracts that we entered to in the month of June. For your review, if you have any questions, I will try to answer them.
We'll take a minute to look. Councilman Kluat, you have any questions?
None.
Like you're home free on this one.
Thank you.
Okay, item number 10, revenue and expenditure report, Amanda. No, Dawn.
Good evening. Before you are the financial reports for the month of May 2019. The first two pages are reflective of the major funds of the parish, which include the general fund, sales and use tax district number 1, sales and use tax district number 2, East Ascension drainage, and road and bridge. The first column of the report shows you the actual year-to-date as of May 2018, and then so you can see the comparison as to where we are actually year-to-date for May 2019. The remaining columns on the report are encumbrances, the budget, remaining amount of the budget, and percent of the budget used for both revenue and expenditures for each fund. The report also shows the operating surplus and/or deficit for each fund, as well as the ending fund balance projection. For the general fund, revenues are at 51% of the budget as of May 2000, at the end of May. Expenditures are at 38%. Sales tax district number 1, revenues are at 43% of the budget. Expenditures are at 34% of the budget. Sales tax district number 2, revenues are at 42% of the budget, and expenditures are at 33% of the budget. East Ascension Drainage Fund, revenues are at 43%, as well as expenditures. The Road and Bridge Fund, revenues are at 36%, and expenditures are at 45%. Pages 3 and 4 are the enterprise funds of the parish, which include Lamar Dixon, Parish Utilities, ACUD number 2, and ACUD number 1. On these pages is the same information as I just reported on. Lamar Dixon is at 35% revenues compared to budget for the month ending May 2019. Expenditures are at 40%. Parish Utilities of Ascension are at 39% in its revenues, and expenditures are at 22%. ACUD number 2, current revenues are at 32% of the budget, and expenditures are 44%. ACUD number 1, revenues are at 38%, and total expenditures are at 37%. Page 5 shows the major capital projects funds, which are the Road and Bridge Construction Fund, East Ascension Major Drainage Construction, Courthouse Construction, and Move Ascension. For the Road and Bridge Construction Fund, revenues are currently at 7% of the budget, and expenditures are 48%. For East Ascension Drainage Construction Fund, we're at 35% for revenues of the budget and 3% of expenditures. Courthouse Capital Fund, the total revenues are at 4,734% of the budget.
Man.
And expenditures are at 248%. Move Ascension, revenues are at 7% of the budget, and expenditures are at 2%. Let's see. Page 6 of the report gives you the cash and investment position of the parish as of year-to-date May 2019 compared to May 2018. The total cash for May 2019 is $279,330,636, of which $247,333,475 is restricted, and $31,997,161 is unrestricted, compared to May 2018 total cash of $264,338,589, of which $231,708,504 being restricted, and $32,630,084 unrestricted. The report also reflects the breakdown between unrestricted and restricted cash for 2019 and gives a listing of the funds associated with each. The remaining pages of the report show the normal sales tax reports that are just for informational purposes. And if you have any questions, happy to answer.
I'll start it off, Dawn, since nobody else is ready. Let's see where I was here. There's a question about, I look at PUA,
Okay,
and, you know, the projection here is to have a negative fund balance.
correct.
So where, we don't have,
We will
where does
have
that come from?
Sales tax district number 1.
So we'll have to make a transfer in to balance that.
Yes. Now, the rates are also set to be increased as of June 1st, effective. So our revenues, it's possible will be actually higher than the 1.5 budget. Because whenever we did the, $1.5 million budget, whenever we did this last year, we did not know about the rates being increased yet. So there is potential for that to be higher and obviously cover the deficit.
Well, and then if I look at expenditures, we're at 22%, and we're about, what, 40% in the year, right?
Yes.
So, good, I guess there's a, you know, a
Doing
chance
great,
unless
huh?
there are
Yeah.
some expenses that are extraordinary towards the end of the year. Okay.
It's possible, but it just depends on any major repairs or anything like that. I mean, we try to, whenever we're doing the budget, try to get them to think of anything that could possibly happen, but yes, it has potential for being higher.
So maybe this is more for 2020, but when I look at ACUD 2,
Okay?
and that's losing $950,000 a year,
Projected, yes.
we're gonna run completely, we slap out of, reserve fund there.
Yes, we are.
So, again, so we're in 2020, if this rate continued, then we have to dip into,
Sales tax district number 1. Or
for
general, I mean, that's only-
$900,000.
Yes,
I think you've had to do it before,
yes.
multiple times.
But that's gonna be, well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, might be, I don't know what what it would be annually. Then on ACUD 1, I don't understand the transfers there. Can you help me? 389,000?
Okay, so that is to pay the ACUD number 1 debt that is transferring
Okay.
out to the
Okay.
sinking fund.
Got it, okay. Then if I go to the courthouse fund,
Okay. That is because, go ahead, I'm sorry, what's your question?
no, I think you know.
So the amount that we had in the budget, $100,000, that was for projected interest income. And of course, with the additional money that was put up by the sheriff and the clerk of court, I think that was it. Those funds, the budget will be amended during the budget process to reflect the revenue that we receive from them. That's why the revenue is so much higher than what we budgeted.
Okay, so these are the payments for
Yes,
the use of
yes.
the existing facility. And I guess we'll just carry that, that should carry on through the year, because we should break even, or through the years, because we should
Oh,
break even on that.
Right, correct.
Okay? Thank you. Anybody have any? Oh, sorry. Councilman Kluat.
I'm once again amazed by the different colors, you know. Y'all in the finance department, you guys have, y'all must have, y'all got that color key down.
Apparently, huh?
So if you, like any good PNID or plot map, you know, if you just give me some keys to the colors, you know,
Yeah.
it'd be easier to read.
Well, we
But
are
no, I'm
also-
just joking about
We're
that.
working with IT to make these reports a little bit clearer and more professional and just,
I just want to, I
All
want to
around
appreciate your knowledge and your abilities, and you guys, as a team, y'all put it together. And we haven't asked a question yet so far tonight that y'all couldn't answer. And you know the areas generally in these meetings, you know the areas where somebody's going to ask
Yes.
a question, you know. Bill never met a spreadsheet he couldn't challenge anyway, so.
Right.
You know, but, thank you very much.
sure.
Okay. Further questions, comments? All right. Thank you, Dawn.
Sure.
Item number 11, bid items to accept the lowest responsive bid as follows, Ms. Shivers.
On June 11, 2019, the purchasing department received 3 bids for the re-roofing of the Ascension Parish Jail, project number PM-19-02-002. After review, the Ascension Parish Jail and the Ascension Parish Project Manager recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Progressive Roofing and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this project.
So move.
Got a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions?
Yeah, real quick, I
Mister.
just want to say on the bid, on the tab sheet, that Progressive Roofing is, between 100 and 150,000 less than the other two guys, so good deal. Hope it all works out.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You did good.
Okay. Any objections?
On June 25, 2019, the purchasing department received 1 bid for 3M road name signs. After review, the purchasing department and Department of Public Works recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by Traffic Control of Louisiana and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this material. And this is a hard bid because we do have a restriction in here that we have to have the road name signed within 24 hours of the order. and that's why it kind of limits the pool of bidders.
Motion by Councilman Lambert, second by Councilman Benny Johnson. But to tell me that, why do we have to have it in 24 hours?
That
What's
is,
the emergency?
911 and the sheriff department. They like for our people to put out road name signs within 24 hours when they go down.
Respond to it so they can find it. You get a new street put into the system, they get a call on it, and there's no sign to let them know that that's where they're at. They'll pass right by it, so. That or you get a stop sign torn up in an accident.
Thank you, Ms. Shivers.
We have a lot of roads in this parish that's named after families, so it becomes an artifact and a good collector's item for those that choose to steal
Just a
road
heads up for
signs.
DPW, this is our last year that you may see this bid package. They're actually going to be making their own road name signs.
Oh, that's single vendor. All right, any objections? Okay.
Gotta have a second bidder on that, though.
Did I miss one?
You can't be the only one bidding on it.
Well, they had a motion.
On June 25th, 2019, the purchasing department received 4 bids for a blinker sign flashing LED stop sign. After review, the purchasing department and DPW recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by K&K Systems and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this material.
So moved. Second.
A motion by Councilman Benny Johnson, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Any questions?
Yeah.
Mr. Cruitt.
I just want to make a quick note. The first time we put these signs that came in under a grant, probably eight or 10 years ago, we put a few of them out. They've improved, some of them have had anti-theft devices on them, things like that, because they're quite expensive. And so I'm saying that this dollar value is not, based on what we got it, at the low bidder, is not that much more than what they were 8 or 9 years ago. So it's apparently a good deal because, I remember them on a grant. We didn't have a lot of control over it. It was furnished through the grant, and it was right at $1,000 a sign by the time you put it in the ground.
Any objections? Okay. Item number D.
On April 3rd, 2019, the purchasing department received 4 bids for the Modest Fire Station. After review, Fire District Number 2, along with their fire board, recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by HCM Building and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this project.
So moved.
A motion by Councilman Joseph, second by Councilman Benny Johnson. Any questions, comments, objections? Item E.
On June 4, 2019, the purchasing department received 2 proposals for the industrial uniforms and flat supplies. After review, the non-engineering selection committee recommend accepting the highest ranked proposal submitted by UniFirst Corporation and to authorize the parish president to begin contract negotiations for this service.
So moved.
Got a motion by Councilman Todd Lambert, second by Councilman Kluart. Got a question, Mr.
I got a
Kluart?
second, and I just got a question. Is there a lot, I know we don't have a lot of staff members left here, administration members, I know when we change uniforms where I work, sometimes change uniform companies it's a drudgery, you know? And I just want to, you got a grade here that's not necessarily a dollar value, you know? I'm just,
It's a service here.
that's a hard chore, so you gotta make sure you're moving to somebody that can furnish the services. That's all I'm saying, because
I'm not a voting member, but
Yes,
I
I
remember
understand.
that they had high recommendation from the companies that currently use the new company. And requests for proposals do include the price of the uniform, and there was a significant difference in the price.
yeah. Because when I change out, I have to change out lockers and everything, or either I have to buy, say, the other one's lockers that I already have at my facility. I mean,
Yeah,
if you
it's
go
major
a wholesale
thing.
clean change, there's a lot of work. The rotation takes a month to a month and a half to get it initially going, and then it takes another 2 months for everybody's uniform to fit right.
It is a
You know?
process.
And so I hope we made a deal for new uniforms.
Yes, sir.
For good,
They are new.
good quality new material. Thank you.
Any objections? Item F for Ford truck.
There you go.
On June 11, 2019, the purchasing department received one bid for a 2019 Ford F-150 Super Crew pickup. After review, the Department of Public Works Fleet Management recommend accepting the lowest responsive bid submitted by All Star Ford, and to authorize the parish president to enter into any applicable agreement or contract for this equipment.
Motion.
Got a motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Cagnolati. So got the standard question. You know, we could only get one bid on a Ford truck. Okay, I got people bugging me to death to buy a truck from.
We only have one dealer in it.
We only got one bid on the Ford
Yeah,
pickup truck.
Talk them up.
I think it's because we only buying the one, not in bulk or large volume.
Fleet sale.
We got a motion and a second. Any objections, any questions? Comments? Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Shivers. Item 12.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second by Councilman Cagnolati. Meeting's adjourned.